Finally, MALEC had their first date. Hello everybody, it is Katie here, and it is time to talk about episode 6 of Shadowhunters. I have been waiting for this episode for so long because we knew that it was going to be MALEC's first date. And as you should know by now, I am very emotionally invested in MALEC. So yeah, this date. It's been a long time coming, it really has. I haven't actually taken notes this week and I've only seen the episode once. I've literally just seen it, but I want to talk about it now because I might not have a chance to film a review for a couple of days. So if I don't do it now, then it probably wouldn't be uploaded until the weekend. So because I've only seen it once, if I am confused on anything, then please feel free to correct me in the comments because usually I watch through the episode twice before I talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about this episode. I am, of course, going to start with MALEC. Obviously. So MALEC's first date. If you've read the Bane Chronicles, then you will know that MALEC had a first date in that book. I absolutely loved that short story, it was hilarious. But the rights to the Bane Chronicles were never sold, so obviously the show writers can't use that date. They had to come up with their own. And obviously it's not an episode just fully dedicated to MALEC, it was shared with other storylines as well. They had limited time to deal with this first date subject matter, and they did it brilliantly. Magnus calls Alec over for an emergency. It's not an emergency, Magnus is fine, he just wants to take his bae out. They've been talking about this first date for such a long time now. They had to get it done, they just had to. The first date is nothing special, it's just a typical go to a bar, play some pool type date. I say typical like I do that on a regular basis. I don't go on dates. So they're at Hunter's Moon, which is such a gorgeous location. I just love the aesthetics of Hunter's Moon. I don't do bars, but I would do that bar if it was real. So during this date they play pool, and I loved this pool scene so much. Especially when Alec turns around and Magnus starts playing really well, and Alec's convinced that he uses magic. Did you do your... So the pool scene was really great and it created a little bit of fun tension. But after that, we get to them talking about their pasts. I thought Matthew Daddario played this part perfectly. He is very awkward and has never been in a relationship before, because when they were talking about relationships and he was talking about the fact that he'd never had anyone romantic in his life before, it was just so accurate to how I imagined Alec in the books. He was awkward but not ashamed of it. You know, for him it is what it is. This is the life that he's been brought up with. I love how he explains that he's never had a relationship because of his life growing up in the Institute, and obviously as well because he was gay and no one knew. And he was in love with Jace as well, so he could never pursue what he wanted, and I love that he opens up about that to Magnus. But then we have Magnus talking about his past. But Magnus obviously has been alive for centuries, as he says. He's been with everyone. Man, woman, Seelie, vampire, yeah, he's been with everything, basically. When Alec asks how many, and Magnus says 17, and then Alec's like, wait, 100,000? Oh my god, that was just pure gold. Honestly, I was in tears. Magnus, why are you like this? Obviously, Alec is a little bit overwhelmed by that figure at first, because who wouldn't be? But what I like is, even though that number was a bit shocking for him at first, as I was saying last week, it's not who Magnus has been with that is a problem for Alec. He still doesn't care whether Magnus has been with men or women or whatever. And that is why I love Alec on the show so much. Not judgmental. Alec's problem with this is that he feels they're too different. And he says this to Magnus when they get back to Magnus's apartment at the end of the episode. Obviously they have two completely different lives and they've had very different pasts. Alec knows that Magnus has done so much more than he has, so he brings that up and says that they are maybe too different for each other, but then he snaps out of it pretty much immediately and says he doesn't care how many people Magnus has been with, and he goes in for the kiss. My boy Alec. Yes! That's my boy. It's my boy. I'll tell you what I am mad about is that the kiss was spoiled. I mean, I figured they were going to kiss anyway. We'd seen the promo you know, we knew that they were going to kiss, but I don't know whether you guys saw this. The picture of them kissing was actually released by, I don't even know who. Was it some guy that wrote for like a TV magazine or something? He just randomly put the picture of them kissing on Twitter. And then it was all over Tumblr in like an instant, so I ended up seeing it. I'd rather have not seen that until the actual episode, because I hate it when kisses are revealed before they happen. Like Luke and Jocelyn's kiss was literally released as a promo picture. I don't like it when they do that, because kisses are supposed to be special and you want to see them for the first time as you're witnessing the episode. So yeah, kind of annoyed that that picture ended up online. It didn't take away from the beauty of that moment though. It was still a very, very lovely kiss for like a few seconds before Jace walks in. Seriously? Seriously, Jace? You choose now? Now! I will admit that I was wondering if we were going to get Jace living with Magnus at all in the series, because we know in City of Ashes he has to go and stay with Magnus. And in the book that was absolutely hilarious, the two of them living together. So I was hoping that we'd get that in the show as well. Didn't want it to happen like that. It just walks in on their romantic moment. Jace! So yeah, that happened. We've had this perfect MALEC date where they've opened up to each other, spoke about their pasts. Alec has accepted that they're different, but it doesn't matter because he wants to be with Magnus. He realises that relationships take work. Magnus wants to put in that effort. And then Jace. But yeah, aside from Jace ruining it at the end there, everything about MALEC in this episode was just perfect. And I'm just so happy that they've kept Alec this way. Of him knowing that this is his first relationship and he's going to mess up. He's not going to be as experienced as Magnus, but he's okay with that. And they're both willing to work on it. And they have communication. They're talking to each other about these things. And that is what I like to see. So yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better first date. Didn't disappoint. 10 out of 10, would recommend. So moving away from the MALEC, because I feel like I've just spent like 10 minutes talking about them, we need to talk about the other parts of the episode as well, because aside from MALEC's first date, we also had the Iron Sisters. They were so epic. So Clary decides that she wants to come on this mission to the Citadel with Izzy, and Victor allows it as long as Izzy agrees to spy on Clary for him, basically. Victor being a top guy once again. So Izzy and Clary go off to see the Iron Sisters. First of all, let's talk about the Citadel because it looked beautiful. Also, that first opening scene where we have the two Iron Sisters fighting, that was a nice scene. They look so epic. I'm so happy with them. So before they're allowed into the Citadel, Clary and Izzy have to prove that they don't have anything demonic about them. They have to lie down in this pool, which will show any demonic impurities that they have. Clary goes in and it's all good with her, so that proves to Izzy that Clary doesn't have demon blood, so she can tell Victor that. But then when it comes to Izzy going in, we have a bit of a problem, because as we know, she is on the Yin Fen now. We had a scene earlier on in the episode when she went to ask Victor about Clary coming with her. She wanted to get more Yin Fen from him, and you could see that she was shaking. So clearly she is addicted to this stuff now. When she goes in the pool, it backfires. Clary has to pull her out. Of course, Clary doesn't know about the Yin Fen, so she thinks that it was just a demon injury that's causing the pool to react like this. But the Iron Sisters won't let Izzy in. So she tells Clary to go on her own. And this was such a heartbreaking scene because Izzy has been desperate to see the Iron Sisters. So that was really sad to see her come so close but not actually get there. So Clary gets to go in the Citadel and talk with Cleophas, but she is Luke's sister. She is a character that didn't exist in the books but has been brought in as Luke's sister in the show. Clary admits to her that she's afraid about Luke because he's just completely disappeared, and then Cleophas explains to Clary the truth about the Soul Sword and what it can actually do. First of all, I absolutely loved the way the story was told on the ceiling. When Clary looks up and you can see the patterns on the ceiling moving and telling the story, I thought that was really clever. But the story is about demonic activity getting too much for the Shadowhunters to handle. The Soul Sword can then be turned into a weapon that eliminates anyone with demonic blood, which includes all Downworlders. So obviously Clary is immediately more concerned about Luke after that, as you would be. Before Clary leaves, she tells Cleophas about her rune power, that she's just discovered. Izzy has been told to spy on Clary, obviously, so she ends up listening in and sees what Clary can do. Thankfully though, when Izzy goes back to the Institute, she doesn't actually admit that part of it to Victor. So Victor still doesn't know that Clary can create runes, thank God. But whilst we're talking about the Iron Sisters, let's talk about that ending, shall we? Cleophas is leaving, and the other Iron Sister runs out to try and stop her. Cleophas just stops her? I was like, okay, sure. She gets her stele out and reveals the circle rune on her neck. So she's a member of the Circle, and I'm assuming this isn't something that she's left in her past, like Luke and the Lightwoods. She seems to still be a pretty active member. I really didn't expect that whatsoever, because I loved her. I thought she was a great character in this episode, and I was really excited for what she was going to bring to the show. And then it turns out she could actually be working with Valentine. Yeah. That was unfortunate. So that was the ending of the episode, but let me talk about other things that went on as well. Maya. We had Maya back in this episode. I was really happy to see more of her. She had a great storyline with Simon in this episode. The two of them finally meet because Simon has been forced back to his canoe outside Jade Wolf. Maya overhears his conversation with Alaric where he's getting worried about Luke. She comes to find him and tells him that she's still looking for Luke even though the rest of the pack have seemingly just forgotten about him. They go off together to track him down. They had this really lovely scene in the car as they were driving to the forest. I just thought this scene was so pure and so good because it allowed Simon to finally laugh about the situation that he was in, as Maya was admitting the embarrassing situations that her transformations had gotten her into. Simon talks about the rat from last episode and he laughs about it, and that just made me so happy because he needed that, he really did. We also get a flashback from when Luke first met Maya. I wasn't expecting that flashback at all, so I'm really glad that they included that. It was a good glance into Maya's backstory as well. And once again, it's showing another caring part of Luke. Bless him. Yeah, so Luke in this episode, we found out what was going on with him basically after Jocelyn's death. His emotions were all over the place and he was losing control of his transformations. So he went out to the forest so that he could be away from people so that no one would get hurt. But in the episode, there are two people out camping in the forest. Aren't they always? Those bloody romantic campers trying to get it on amongst the trees. They're always in for it. It always happens in Supernatural. Don't go camping in the middle of a forest for a romantic getaway because it's going to end in you possibly getting eaten by a supernatural creature. Just saying. So we see him turn into his wolf form, and I absolutely loved that transformation scene. I thought it was very creepy and well shot. Looked very realistic as well. Before he actually manages to attack the people in the tent, Simon steps out, and even though it's putting himself at risk, he starts talking to Wolf Luke about memories that they've had in the past, and I just thought that was so adorable, hearing this story about Luke being such a father to them. Luke is so precious, oh my god. So I really, really loved that scene. I'm very excited to see more of Simon and Maya's relationship in the future as well, because they had some really great chemistry in this episode, and I like the two of them together. Maya is already a fantastic character in my eyes, so yeah, I'm really excited about the two of them. I'm looking forward as well to seeing more of her relationship with Luke. He just seems to be this wolfy father figure to everyone. Can he please be my wolf dad? But it was great to see Luke back in this episode in general, even if he was in trouble, because I missed him last week. I'm gonna have to wrap this up quite quickly because it's getting dark outside and my camera will start messing up if it gets too dark. My camera hates me. So what else did we have going on in that episode? Jace. Victor is making his life at the Institute hell. He has this video clip of Jace admitting that he can't fully commit to the Clave, and he threatens to show that to everyone in the Institute if Jace doesn't do what he asks of him. Victor shoves him on duty cleaning weapons. Jace doesn't do that. You don't make Jace clean other people's weapons. He should be out there fighting the good fight, but no. So I can see why Jace is fed up so much that he leaves the Institute. I can understand why he would burst into Magnus's apartment demanding a room. I'm just pissed off at his timing. So overall, once again, I loved this episode. I thought it was well-rounded and well-paced, and I loved all three of the individual storylines going on throughout it. The promo for next week looks absolutely wild. It seems to be all romantic tension based next week. At the end of this episode, we had Clary walking in to Jade Wolf and seeing Maya and Simon talking together. So I'm assuming next week we're going to have some tension there. Maybe Clary is going to realise she's jealous. But yeah, it does look pretty much relationship focused next week. Also, MALEC. Things are heating up a little. So yeah, relationships are gonna go to the next level. Don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Maybe give me a break. Give me some time to calm down after this episode, please. If we have 2 episodes in a row with MALEC kisses, guys, please. I mean, you're spoiling me. So yeah, next week looks very interesting and I can't wait to talk about that one. It also looks like we're getting some scenes between Jace and Simon next week as well, so that could be really funny. I'm also really excited to see how Magnus and Jace are going to react living together. I swear to God, if Magnus and Alec get to the point where they're progressing in their relationship and Jace walks in, boy! Is this going to be a thing that keeps happening throughout the series now? Poor Magnus and Alec can't get any alone time because Jace. So yeah, I'm really excited about next week. I think it could be a more light-hearted episode. Judging by that promo, it looks like we could have some fun next week. So, as always, please do let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the comments. I'm pretty sure there's loads that I've forgotten to talk about today, because I'm trying to rush this before it gets too dark. So yeah, if I've missed anything out that you want to talk about, then feel free to discuss it with me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye! We have 2 MALEC kisses now. Can you believe that? 2.